I think a lot of people just build these problems to be on this pedestal that they can't reach, and that's not necessarily the truth. How can I lower the activation level so much so that you don't even question it? You just do it. And then before you know it, you're looking around like, what just happened? How am I here now? Well, you took the first step and you realized that the first step wasn't this big weary thing. You just had to do it.
What's going on, friends? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Dieting from the Inside Out, because we all know outer work without inner work just doesn't work. And that's what the show is about. And I'm so pumped to bring you another episode and another guest that you're going to want to start following and get to know. In today's episode, I interviewed a good friend of mine. His name is Dr. Brandon Parker. A lot of you guys probably follow him on Instagram because he's got like 1 million plus followers and puts out some amazing content. And the reason I wanted to get Brandon on here was to talk about, the boring version is to talk about mobility, but I know that sounds boring, but it gets deeper than this. I got Brandon on here because I wanted to talk about the mindset and perspective you need to have in order to just move better. Most people, and I'm assuming you that's listening to this or watching this, most people have it in their heads that it's normal to, as we get older, to be hurting and to not move as well. It's just what happens sometimes in back pain and knee pain. It's like that's not the case at all. And Brandon is amazing with this stuff and puts out some of the best content around this. And I wanted to come in and get his perspective around all of these things, like the mindset you need to have going into moving better, the things you need to be doing so you just walk around with less pain and so you can be happier and live a better life. Because at the end of the day, if you're in pain all the time, like physically, let alone emotionally and mentally, but if you're in physical pain all the time, that's going to dampen your experiences in life. It's going to kill anything you do, and you're overall going to not be as happy of a person. So I wanted to get him on here and hit this thing from a different perspective on just how to move better. But then the cool thing was our conversations. So my favorite things about the podcast is conversations just go different ways. And so I don't have a whole lot of an agenda when I speak with people on the show, because I like the conversation to just go where it's supposed to. And we even got into a lot of the levels of how to fix your relationship with exercise and fix the relationship that you have with your body. This way, it's not just like a lot of people have it in their head that so much of exercise is punishment, or it's something that it only meets the criteria if it's for this long and you're sweating and you're sore, which is not the case at all. So we talked about how to fix your relationship with exercise, the mindset you need to have going into moving better and mobility, things like that. Let me look at my notes. Excuse me. Talked about a few other, I even got into, I wanted to know like his perspective on why some people think like guys like chiropractors, because that's what he is are just quacks, but others love him or love chiros and stuff. So we just had a great conversation around all this stuff. And then especially how to start making these changes if you're in one of those places where you're like, bro, I barely have time to eat, let alone work on moving better and being happier and feeling better. Well, we talked about that and how it's crazy the little things that you can do that make such an impactful difference on your life. So it was just a great episode. I really enjoyed my conversation with Brandon, and I know it will make your life better. So you'll want to stick around for the whole thing. Be sure and subscribe to the show if you haven't already. That way you can be notified every time a new episode comes out, so you don't miss any of the cool stuff I have lined up for you. The other thing too is I did this interview. It's on YouTube as well. So if you have not checked out the YouTube on the show, whenever I have these guest interviews, I'm telling you, you are missing out on some of my best content because we have a full production on the show just for the YouTube videos alone. So it's really, really cool because I want to make this better and more enjoyable for you to absorb. But before we get into the actual nuts and bolts of the episode or the interview with Brandon, big thank yous to the sponsors of the show. Sponsor number one, Flex Pro Meals. I literally just had one right before I came up here because between like calls and meetings and my day-to-day, I just got back from travel. So needless to say, like I just needed something to throw in the microwave and get back up to my office. So Flex Pro came in clutch for that. So if you have that kind of lifestyle where it's not always convenient making food, or you don't always want the food you have, or you just need to grab and go. A lot of times it's just what you need. Well, why not have stuff that meets those criteria, that's in line with your goals, that tastes really good, that meets your numbers, that makes fat loss even easier. So definitely check them out. Go to flexpromeals.com or hit the link below. And if you use my code Hamilton Trained, it'll save you like 20% at checkout, which is pretty cool. Next sponsor is First Form. I've actually got on my First Form Christmas shirt because I think everyone needs to be more jolly, and I love my Christmas shirt. But anyway, big thank you to First Form and all that they do. It's one of those things where we all know supplements are what their name is. It's a supplement. But they do have their time and their place, contrary to what some people believe. Because if you can get everything you need from actual food, more power to you. Good for you. If you're getting all the protein you need, all the recovery things you need, if you're getting enough omegas, if you're getting enough energy, if you're getting enough fruits and vegetables, like awesome. I love that. But for most people, that's not very practical. Like just this week, I was talking to a coach where she is so anti-supplement. Someone said, well, what supplements do you recommend? And she goes, none. And someone said, well, what do you do if your client just can't get in enough protein? She goes, eat more chicken. And then I jokingly said, as a joke, I said, well, just throw it in a blender and make your own protein shake. And she went, yeah, absolutely. And my thing is like, that's just not practical. Right? Yes, the optimal way is never touch a supplement and only eat food. But most people's just lives aren't that centered around fat loss and optimization and fitness to make that happen. So having a protein shake, having a multivitamin, having a pre-workout, having if you're not eating enough fruits and vegetables, having like a green supplement, something like that can be really, really helpful. And not just living in the land of optimal where you're like blending chicken breast and shit. So that's why I love First Form, is because you're getting great products that are accurate, they're safe, they're made in an actual HQ, not in someone's basement. So if that's kind of your cup of tea and you want to look into upgrading what you take or seeing what you should take, I also have a video below that walks you through kind of my perspective on like what I take, what our clients take, and kind of my suggestion with supplements. All that will be below, as well as the link to get some free shipping via First Form. So that is it for the sponsors. Let's get into the actual nuts and bolts of the episode with Brandon, and I will talk to you soon. Do people just come to your practice and they're just like, or someone's like, hey, who do you work with? And they go, this motherfucker that looks like Thor.
It's either that or if my elastic band breaks, everyone's like, yeah, Fabio over here,
Bro, you're probably like, this is going to go on a weird dive. This is probably some person's fantasy coming to see you and have you adjust them. You this like Thor looking Fabio having ass dude. You're just probably some like middle-aged woman's fantasy. She reads these in the book.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. There's times where I'm like, you're completely fine. You don't have to keep coming. Oh no, I'll keep coming. I'll keep coming this way. And it's like, all right.
Like, all right, we'll just keep that out. Yeah, let's just keep her going.
Let's keep this energy going.
I love it. And I'm so happy we started off like this. This makes me so happy. Oh, fuck, dude. This is great. I'm super pumped. So fun fact, I've never had someone like in your realm on the show ever. I think actually to date, you have the biggest following of any guest I've had on, which is pretty neat.
Really?
Yeah. I've had on some pretty big name people, but I think you have like the biggest following. But then also I've never had someone talk about like your kind of stuff, but I've been wanting to. I just haven't found anyone who I don't think would sound like a history teacher.
I see.
You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
But then as you and I have gotten to know each other and gotten connected more, I'm like, this would be perfect. So that's why I was really glad that you were down to do it. So give everyone listening a little idea of who you are, and then we'll just dive into the shenanigans.
Sure. I should have practiced my elevator speech here or pitch, but I'm going to do my best where...
Bro, we're talking about you being your patient's fantasies. Like, I think that's enough right there.
Now everyone's introduced to me. But my name is Dr. Brandon Parker. I'm a chiropractor and strength coach. Those are my classical trainings, but now I'm specializing in helping people overcome the pain that they've been dealing with and then hopefully get them back to living the lives that they want to live. Started off as a strength and conditioning coach working with elite athletes at the professional level. And honestly, I just got sick and tired of waking up at 4 a.m. just for somebody to say like, oh, my back hurts, I don't want to work out. And then I was like, okay, if I go to additional schooling, I can start to set my own hours. And then from there, I started to shift my focus towards people that really wanted to unlock a better side of their life. Because a lot of people, they have a bad knee and they blame it on their genetics. They blame it on all these outside factors when they don't even consider the internal factors that are actually the large contributing factor to what's happening. So yeah, I guess like now what I'm doing is just helping people be human again.
I love that, dude. This is where it blends really well. I mean, the show's called Dieting from the Inside Out. So I was going to ask you to approach this from like, all right, what kind of mental perspectives or the internal perspectives can we attack at this? And you just did it without even thinking about it. I love it. So
We just
here's
blend
something
together.
right. You just have a better beer than I do. It's fine. It's fine. Here's my question, and I want to, honest to God, know your answer. Why is it like I've always been the biggest fan of chiropractic, so I've been going to a chiropractor in some capacity since my first experience with a chiro locally to me was when I was 12. I woke up with headaches every single morning, and I just need a couple snaps and pops, and we were good. So I've been a fan of chiropractic work forever, especially if we can like avoid surgery or avoid whatever. But why is it you have half of the population who are like me, raving fans of chiros, and the other half not just isn't a fan, but they think y'all aren't even a medical degree, or they think you guys are a bunch of quacks that's just dangerous and hurting. It's like, it's not even, it's like, let's say cilantro. Everyone on Instagram knows I love cilantro, but some people are like, yeah, I'm not a fan. It's just, I don't care for it. I just don't think it tastes good. That's fine. But I feel like with chiropractics, it's like, oh, I love them, or they should all go just be eradicated from the earth. Talk about that.
Yeah. So to give you my perspective, I don't tell anybody what I do, what I like my actual profession is, because you only get one or two options and it's never really fruitful for me. So first and foremost, it's, hey, I'm a chiropractor. And it's just like, oh, I heard they're quacks. And it's like, all right, I don't know how I'm going to continue this conversation. Nice to meet you. Or it's the other side of things where it's just like, oh, really? I had this lower back pain. Do you think you can help me? And it's just like this whole circumstance where it's like, right, exactly. It's like, I'm in a bar right now. I'm not going to do a consult right here in the middle of, So to answer your question, it's deserved. Our chiropractic profession is very wide when it comes to our scope. Right. And because we are open portal practitioners, meaning anybody can come to us without a referral, we have this opportunity to treat such a large array of pathologies. But the thing is, some of those pathologies are not in our scope. And as a ethical practitioner, you need to be able to send them to the right areas. And this is where things get into hot water, because we have ego get in the way of healthcare, and you should never have that circumstance. And you have chiropractors trying to blame all these pathologies on like a single source of your back's out of alignment. And without me getting on this huge rabbit hole, your back does not go out of alignment, right? Your back, if I had the ability to push on your back and push a bone back into place, every NFL player would be screwed. Could you imagine? So to answer your question, I had the same experience with you. I grew up, I found an amazing chiropractor. I had what we call a lumbar radiculopathy. I woke up, stood out of bed, and my left leg gave out from underneath me. Couldn't do sports, couldn't do anything. And that was my identity. So if I couldn't do that and I'm stuck on a couch, I am screwed. Chiropractor comes in, says, hey, look, I'm going to adjust you. It's going to be a temporary pain relief. And then from there, I want you to do these exercises and ease your way back into sports. I saw him 3 times and I never saw him again other than saying hello. Not this prototypical, hey, I need to see you 30 times to make sure that this mythical pathology that I'm blaming it on is corrected. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious. So are you a fan? Because I hear several thoughts with this. Are you a fan of maintenance chiropractic work? Like let me give you a case in point. So the chiro that I've seen, he has done more progress for my issues than I have ever had in my life. As in, like once he got my x-rays, I'm not a medical doctor, obviously, whatsoever. But as soon as those x-rays popped up, I'm across the room and I go, holy shit. I said, I'm not a chiro, but that's crooked as fuck, isn't it? He goes, oh yeah, it's bad. Or like my shoulder's given me so many issues over the years. I talk about them on the Instagram and stuff where I have a crooked collarbone and like my right side is all raised funny. But then my chiro measured it and my AC joint on my left side, my good shoulder, I think it's like a 3 or 4 millimeter gap, I guess normal, whatever. This one's 12. Like and I'm like, oh, so this is why I can't press anything over my head without it feeling like someone shoving a pencil into my arm.
Yeah.
And through the process of like the next few months, dude, I'm back to, I'm benching hundreds on incline. I'm feeling the most, and I do jujitsu way easier now. I'm in the least amount of pain I've ever been in my life. So now I'm like, do I keep going? I mean, like even he's like, bro, you're fixed, you're good. Like things are awesome. But I hear a lot of people talk about having maintenance chiropractic work and just going like once a month. Is that even valid then?
Great question. So it comes down to, are you trending towards a goal, and are you making progress through the like of you going? So for example, when you are working with me, it's not just the chiropractic adjustments, which a lot of people make that synonymous, right? Like you're a chiropractor, therefore all you do is adjust. Me personally, I hardly adjust. I adjust as a potential technique to decrease or downregulate the pain that you are currently feeling. And there's a million different ways to do that. Heat, ice, massage, right? Or an isometric exercise. So for example, if somebody has a tendinopathy and they still want to train, they still want to do jujitsu or some type of fighting style, I can just simply say, hey, look, if we need to get you through the session, let's try these isometrics. So if you're dealing with a hamstring tendinopathy, the hamstring tendon issue, we'll just do a glute bridge, hold it for 30 seconds until the area feels warm. 9 times out of 10, they'll be able to get through their session pain-free and they'll feel much better. Now, that to answer, like circle back, is it worth for maintenance care? Well, if you seeing me on a monthly basis to talk shop, maybe change your programming, perhaps work on an area that you need a little bit more deep dive on, then yes. But for the sake of just go in and getting adjusted, at that point, it's more like, do I get benefit from the post adjustment stress reduction? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. No, for sure. Do whenever you talk about like chiros using terms like, oh, your back's out of alignment or whatever, and you're like, that's not a thing. In that area of chiropractic, do you find it's because they're giving either unethical or complete wrong advice, or they're teaching wrong? Or is it the equivalent of someone coming to my neck of the woods and I say, yeah, we're toning your back. I know toning doesn't exist, but I'm not going to give the client who's not educated in what I'm educated in. They want a toned back. So I'm like, we're going to tone your back. Toning doesn't exist, but what we're going to do is going to give them the result of a toned back. Is it that kind of thing, or is it different?
Yeah, I love the fact that you asked this question, because I think it's both, right? Because we're talking for a majority of people here. So it's very important for you to use language that your client or your patient knows what you're talking about. When you talk over their head, they're lost. And then why are you talking in the first place, right? So first and foremost, do I think some people are using terminology in a way that's just making sure that it's received well? Yes. But I think that they're not necessarily considering the backlash that these simplistic terms may cause. So the easiest example is, oh yeah, your back's out of whack, or your back's out of place. Oh, it's out of place? Okay, so when you adjust me, I feel better, therefore it's in place. Well, if this person can adjust me and it pops in and out that easy, I probably shouldn't do these exercises because I have a very weak back. And then it kind of snowballs and snowballs. And that's where we start to see the opening of the door of chronic pain. Because if we have fear and avoidance, now we're scared to do something. But because we haven't been doing anything a long time, now we're deconditioned. Now we don't have this strength buffer that protects us in our daily lives of the things that we like to do. And I don't know about you, if somebody were to take away BJJ or whatever type of fighting style you do, because they said, hey, you can't do that, your hips are screwed, a part of your identity is going to go to the wayside, and that's going to really mess with your psyche. And the other side of things we also have to consider is this. We are, for lack of, like, healthcare is a business. It is what it is. And in order for a practitioner to make money in that model without charging higher prices, they have to see a lot of faces in a small amount of time. So they have to rely on these short, easy, understandable phrases because it gets them in and out of the door quickly.
That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, that it is really both. Well, and that's why I think we'll call it maybe not provider, any professional, let's say coach or chiro, I feel like there's that middle ground where you can have both where you're teaching like, hey, well, it's actually not out of alignment. What you're feeling is this. And it's like the Cliff Notes version. It's like when a client comes to me and says, hey, I want to tone my back. I go, okay, well, toned is actually a way to describe something. It's not an actual verb. We're not toning shit. We can do these things that's going to make a toned look, but toning doesn't. And they go, oh, and then that breeds great conversation. I feel like it's the same thing.
It's 100% the same thing. You just have to take that extra step, which I understand can get stressful if you're looking at the time clock saying, I'm already 5 minutes behind and I need to get to the next patient.
Yeah. Do you feel like, it's interesting. Did not think we were going to go this way with the conversation, but it's why I love going to these with no agenda. Do you think the world of chiropractic is missing a lot of pieces? Like, for example, the first chiro I went to, I walk in there, pop me lots of pretzels, sit me on my way. That was it. There was no conversation of deep tissue work or rehab work or PT or anything like that. The chiro I go to right now does that. Like I see usually if I go, depending on what's going on, I'm getting deep tissue work done. I'm getting adjustment work done. And I'm getting sent with a plan home of what to do with like my shoulder or rehab type exercises.
100%. It's 1,000% missing. And I think it's because there is no incentive. The insurance companies don't incentivize it. I mean, maybe to a bit, but it's kind of like, all right, you can charge for heat and stem, which means I can put you on something, walk away, and never have to see you until it's time to adjust you. Right. And I can do that for 6+ people, which I think you and I would agree is very low value care. They can do that at home. Yeah. Right. And then manual therapy, you can bill for, but it's not it's not a large reimbursement, right? Like it's not like something that you would spend a lot of time on to get money for. And then last but not least, the big bang for your buck is the adjustment, right? So as a business owner, most people are like, okay, how could I maximize my output? Now, if I feel like if insurance was more so, maybe they reimburse in a way that would reward doing all these different facets in a way that was ethical, I think you would see much more of it. But at the end of the day, it's like the way that people are treating is born out of necessity to meet their own personal goals. And some people get into healthcare not because they truly want to help somebody, but because there is big dollar signs if you can maximize your output.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So as the consumer that's listening, who's going to a chiro and all of a sudden now they're like, holy fuck, my chiro's a scam artist or whatever. How does someone, because I'm the amount of people that I know that are all going to chiros, have been going to chiros for years and stuff, or different levels of like massage therapists or whatever the case is. From your perspective, how does someone find the right person? Other than like, yeah, there's the conversation about who's in your network. Forget that stuff aside, who actually is going to give them the care that they need? Is there a thought process to picking the right one?
Yeah. So from like, I would say from like overarching without breaking it down to easy, something more simplistic is like, you need to find somebody that is maximizing their knowledge to a point where they can break it down to something you can understand. And it all comes off of just effective communication. And if the doctor cuts you off within the first 5 minutes of you sitting down asking you what your problem is, or you feel like you haven't been able to express what's going on, express how you feel, and get validated by the doctor, perhaps you could find somebody else. But that being said, everyone has a different flavor of choice, right? Like you might like vanilla, I might like chocolate. And it comes down to, is your needs being met? Now, when you go into a practitioner's office, you should have the effective communication piece, and they should be telling you why they're doing things. And if they can't explain to you what they're doing, they're not doing informed consent, which is like in our duty, right? like you have to explain what you're doing and why. And you also know, a lot of people don't do this, is you also have to explain like, hey, if you didn't want to do this, you could do all these other things. In fact, I can send you to somebody else that can do it. So if you feel like a chiropractor is like really trying to get you, like, oh no, you have to do 30 visits and XYZ, and you feel almost like they're being predatory, or you feel like you're being pushed into care, get out of there. There's plenty of great practitioners, and this is my own bias here, is you shouldn't be able to tell a difference between a chiropractor, a physical therapist, and a medical doctor who's in the pain and pain and rehabilitation space, because we're all following the same, like not the same scope of practice, but the same evidence that's constantly being updated. Now, the physical therapist and the chiropractor have a much more similar scope, so you really shouldn't tell the difference between those two.
Wow, that's so fascinating. That's so fascinating. I love that. That's crazy, man. And all this, like, I'm still a fan of my guy now. Like, okay, like this is just reaffirms like my guy or whatever. But I don't even know. He might listen to the show. He asks me about every time I see him. He asks me about business and work and in my show. And so, for all I know, like, what up, Dr. Curtis? So let me ask you this. One of the things I was wanting to get in and talk to you about, like, if someone were to just hop on your Instagram, and it is a ridiculous Instagram, like you put so much shit on there, and we'll be sure to link everything in the show notes. You're like like I would say my first glance is you're the mobility guy, right? Like, I don't know, maybe that's a right assessment or wrong, but like at first glance, I'm like, oh, this guy just is about getting people moving pain free. But from just so everyone's clear, a lot of people will bring together flexibility and mobility, and we think it's the same thing. So touch on like what the difference is and why mobility is such a big deal.
Yeah, I use mobility almost like as a buzzword, right? I like, you kind of summarize it very well. I am trying to get people to be strong throughout the entire range of motion that they have access to. And if you have that strength, even at your end range, the chances of you being in the wrong position and being susceptible to injury is much lower, right? So my goal is for that to be being happen, but also in this time that I'm helping you restore strength and mobility to whatever injury you have, I want to build your confidence, right? Because once again, we talked about how chronic pain is such a prevalent thing, especially with people who happen to follow what I have to do, because it's kind of, this is the common question I get. I've had this injury for 20 plus years. Why is it that your simple exercises that you're giving away for free is giving me the results I'm looking for? I tried PT, I tried all these things, and I don't have the answer for that because pain is such a messy circumstance. Perhaps you're just in a more receptive circumstance now, but it's not as extreme. It's not as complicated as some people make it. And I think that people make it convoluted so they can sell stuff. Whereas if you just did this one thing, which places stress on the injury and allowed your body to recover, your body will therefore adapt over time. And if your injury is dependent on being stronger, and that's the reason why you're in pain, you will be out of pain. Now, granted, chronic pain's a little bit more psychogenic, and stuff like that. But that's kind of what my goal is just kind of having people get simple solutions, and they can just help themselves. And if they feel like I've given them enough value, then perhaps I can help them with the other facets of life, which could be motivation, habit building, nutrition, so on and so forth.
Dude, I have never seen anyone else, like when you and I were just like bullshitting on the phone the other day, I've never seen anyone else in like your realm, like a chiro or like so basically in like you're talking about like PT or sports med, whatever, build out an entire program that gets to everything else, like nutrition, habits, mindset. I've never seen anyone do it. They come in, what's my exact skill? I pop you. Oh, I just make you do a bunch of external rotations for 20 minutes with my other 7 PT clients, and then you leave. Like, I've never seen anyone do what you're doing. I think it's incredible.
It's I mean, some of the motivation, or at least some of the inspiration I got, is of course all the stuff that you put out, man, is just like makes me think to myself like, oh, there's a whole different perspective that I really need to read up on. There's you ever have a client or a patient that you might think to yourself like, oh, I really haven't dealt with this. Maybe not now because you're a weathered veteran, but have you ever came across like a patient where you thought to yourself like, oh man, this is uncharted territory.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of what it was, is I started to take on, because I have such a wide base of, I guess you call marketing, content, whatever you want to call, I do attract a lot of different people, and I like the challenge, and that does come with a lot of extra stress. But that's what kind of was the catalyst, right? Just kind of like, if you do want to cast a wide net and help as many people, you need to get really good at the basics. And as I said earlier, is how do we teach you how to be a great human being? Because if you can master your sleep, have great coping mechanisms, make sure that We're eating quality nutrition so your body has the proper building materials to repair. Then are we also, having a great training program that auto-regulates according to all those stressors that I just talked about? And then of course, if you think about this, I'm sure you're well aware of this. You have a great community. Is can there be a community that supplies support when this person is down? Because that, I think, is the number one thing that's going to decide if somebody is going to push through or fall back to their old ways.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. It was Bob, when I first got into just personal development and looking at other, like especially psychology and things like that, it was Bob Proctor. He just died like 1 or 2 years ago. One of the things that I was at a Bob Proctor seminar, and he said, your environment has more to do with who you are than your heredity. And I was like, holy shit. Because if we take someone and take someone just a piece of shit or that has shitty habits or just is even not a good person, you put them in the right group of people, magic shit happens. It's like it's what's crazy is people as adults have a hard time believing that, but they do it with their kids. If they see their good little Billy hanging out with shitheads, they know that little Billy's going to turn into a shithead. But they think that, Mom Karen goes and spends time with all her stuck friends. Top 5 of her friends are stuck. All 5 of her friends have body pains. Have all 5 of her friends, we'll just say, don't have good results. Let's say they're all 50 pounds overweight. Let's say all 5 of her friends are negative. It's no wonder Karen has the exact same issues. She's number 6.
Yep. Environment plays such a massive role. I mean, part of the thing that I made this little ebook for most of my clients where it just kind of goes over the most easy things that you can do to solicit a behavioral change. And one of them is just change your environment. Like, for me, I mean, granted, there are facets of people that I can't speak for, but if we're just talking about the average person, if you didn't have these types of foods that we all can agree on that are low in nutrition and high in calorie around the house, the average person's not going to get in the car and drive to go get this thing because it's not necessarily a necessity or a huge desire. It's just, hey, this is the best thing that I have right now that I see. And if it wasn't there to begin with, I don't think these people would be eating these foods. Now, granted, that's not the crutch of it all. Like there's other things, but that's just one example how your environment can either set you up for failure or success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt at all. I get people asking me all the time. They would say, what's the easiest way to get motivated? And I say, get around motivated motherfuckers. Like that, yeah, like that's it. True. How do you make money? Get around a bunch of wealthy motherfuckers. How do you be happier? Get around a bunch of happy people. It's the cheat code of anything. I mean, mentorship and hiring people like you or me is, I think, the ultimate cheat code. It's why we all have mentors. But the cheapest life hack ever is get around people who have the thing that you want. If your marriage sucks, get around some great marriages. If your communication sucks, get around some really great communicators. I remember the first time I did that, I got around, I still don't claim to be this great communicator. But I remembered it hit me how fast I talk when I got around a bunch of more stoic people who were great speakers and they hosted podcasts and communicators. I realized how much I started saying I realized how fast I talked, and I realized how I really need to slow down. And I didn't realize that until I got around these very well-spoken other people. And we have all these magical things that start to happen. It's crazy.
I will second that. And that's one thing that I've been trying to work on myself. Remember when you initially asked, like, hey, do you want to go on the podcast? It's like, well, I got to make sure that I exercise. I got to make sure that I'm doing all these things because I will sound like a cracked out squirrel. If I'm talking to somebody that I like and I like to talk about the thing we're talking about, I just get faster and faster and faster.
Absolutely. I'm the same way, dude. Like I said that and everyone listening is like, bro, you still talk fast. You still say filler words way too much. I'm like, oh, I am working on it. We are a work in progress. But so let me ask you this. So, where would the average person start with this stuff? Because the average person listening to this is just your average person who's been struggling to lose weight forever. And they just want to be happy, healthy, and feel better. Most of the people that listen to this or in my community barely have time already to work out or go on a walk 2-3 days a week. So I'm sure the first thought is, I don't even have time to get started with this. I don't have all the crazy weird equipment that they have at the PT offices or whatever. How do I even approach mobility and bullshit. Like if that's where everyone's head's at right now, what would your suggestion be?
I'll start off and say, let's demystify mobility and just say it's exercising through a full range of motion. A lot of people are like, is this mobility? Is this mobility? Honestly, as long as you are exercising, once again, through a full range of motion, that means your nervous system is going to be prepared for you to be in some weird, funky situation and you have to resist something. And that's what's going to have the protective benefits that you would be building. How would somebody start? So the number one thing that I hear is one, how do I start? But also two, how do you make time? I'm sure every coach gets these questions.
100%.
For me, I always like to do the simple activity. It's just called the habit scorecard. I'm sure you've read Atomic Habits. That's one of my favorite things to use. So
I tried getting James on the podcast and they politely declined. So we're working on it. But yeah.
Well, it's a little bit more, and you can mention that you had somebody with 1 million followers on, and he's like, okay, maybe
That's
I got
right. That's right.
But so between the habit scorecard and then also just having people write down what they do throughout the day, it is a big eye opener. It's like, okay, well, I spent 20 minutes scrolling on the phone today, and I thought it was much less than that. It's like, okay, well, can we cut that down to half and then spend 10 minutes doing one exercise? Right? It comes down. What I've noticed is whether it be nutrition, just general habit building, or exercise, it all comes down to like similar principles where if you want to do something, let's take away as much friction as possible from that activity, right? So if it's like, I want to get in shape and therefore I have to do these things, keep breaking down those things until it's an absolute joke. And when you get to that point, you're like, this is so easy. Why can't I do it? You can do it.
Yeah.
And with you looking at your habit scorecard, you'd be like, oh, you mean to tell me that I can just brush my teeth, and then when I'm done brushing my teeth, I can drop down and touch my toes to build up my hamstring flexibility? Yeah, I can definitely do that. And what they show is if you do 2 sets of about 30 seconds per day of the weekdays, that's enough of effective dose for you to actually build lifelong flexibility. Mm-hmm. You got a minute. You have a minute.
Well, and I love that where if someone's like, I don't have a minute, I go, well, then you either are lying to yourself or your life has some serious organizational issues. Because if this is the barricade that I talk to people about meditating and journaling, like with getting into the inner work. And they're like, I don't have 5 minutes. And my thing is, if you do not have 5 minutes to take care of your brain, then we're in some serious shit and your life needs entirely reorganized.
Yep. And I wanted to ask you this because it's something that I am always constantly working on. And perhaps it's something that I struggle with because I deal with such a wide array of types of people, is where do you draw the line between keeping it real? Like, hey, look, you do have time. And then also throwing the patient or client a bone, right? It's just like, hey, I understand. You're validating their circumstance, but then you hit them with the real stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's both. I think it depends on the who I'm talking to. There's some people who they need loving bluntness. If I just come on and say, hey, you're a degenerate, lazy piece of shit, get your shit together. There's like 1% of people who will resonate with that, but the majority won't. But I think the other piece is people. The way that I view this, people like myself, this is what I tell my coaching staff, is when my coaches, because my coaches are the best coaches in the world, they love so hard and they want to help people. And they're like, I'm having trouble with this client and I just need to tell them this, but I'm just having a hard time and they're not listening. And I say, they are paying the client pays us to be willing to have the hard conversations that they need to hear for their betterment. You have a moral obligation to communicate effectively and have the hard conversation with them. Most people in our lives are yes men and are people pleasers, and they are not willing to have conversations. But people like you and me are one of the few people in other people's lives who sign up to have that hard conversation. I think there is an intention behind it that supersedes bluntness or, well, I get it, but whatever. And that's kind of my thought on it. But at the end of the day, the thing has to get said. For example, it's why I like to pull out other stuff. Like when someone says, I don't have time, I go, do me a favor, pull open your phone right now. Go into your settings. What's your screen time today? Yeah. And they're like 4 hours. I go, okay. So we spent 4 hours on Instagram today. Or I'll give an example of someone who's 18 times busier than them. Like let's say an average person will tell me how busy they are. And I'll go, oh, well, I have this client named Sarah. Sarah's a single mom because her husband's a narcissist. So she's in the middle of divorcing him. They have 4 kids. She works 3 jobs. Oh, and is in school with double credit hours and still manages to sleep 8 hours a night.
Yep.
Where are we missing this? The other thing I like to bring up is the fact that the number one driver of human behavior is avoidance of pain. So what I think for some people is putting it flat out, which hurts worse? Hey, look, I get you don't have time, but which hurts worse? Would you rather the life that you're trying to get away from, that stays the same, but hey, you got the extra time for Netflix tonight, or are you willing to give up 30 minutes of that Netflix and you never be in pain ever again? And I think putting it on the table is one of the biggest game changers.
Yeah. And I would also say like, back to what we were saying, like removing all the friction. I know some people like they look forward to that, like, that nighttime Netflix routine. Nothing stops you from getting down on the floor and watching your television and working on your body while you're there. I feel like there's a lot of expectations or what characterizes what exercise is and what mobility and flexibility is, where they're afraid they're doing something wrong. But if we were to just rewind 100 years where nothing really mattered, we had strong men just lifting stuff in weird ways, never getting injured. Yeah. I think we wouldn't be so afraid. Like, for example, we demonize the deadlift, but the only reason why the deadlift is the way the deadlift is because somebody randomly decided the 45 plates are going to be this size and the bar is going to be this long. And that's why we have the deadlift versus back in 100 years ago, or maybe less, like maybe like 60 years ago, they did a deadlift from the middle of the thighs, right? Like our culture, it really dictates what we're doing. And I feel like people get paralysis by the analysis. Just move. And if it feels good, awesome. 9 times out of 10, I feel pretty it's safe of saying this, like you'll know if you did something wrong almost immediately or the day after, right?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, it's funny you brought that up. So my surgery knee gives me some trouble sometimes still when I tore my meniscus and stuff. I was finishing up a workout right before we had this podcast. I was, the gym I'm going to has some equipment I haven't had much experience with. So I'm just playing with the new toys, I was doing pendulum squats because it's like the hack squat's evil old brother. But all of a sudden I did first set, great. Second set, great. And I'm not going heavy because it's a pendulum squat. Third set on rep 3, I had searing pain go over the top of my kneecap.
Yeah.
Like searing pain. I went, nope, we racked it. And because I want to see how I do that. Because I remember there's been times before I've pushed through my inner meathead and I can't hardly walk the rest of the day. I had this sharp shooting pain. I go, we're done. And so now I'm playing it by ear the rest of the day. My knee's okay right now. And so next day I have this workout split. I'm going to try it again and see kind of where things are at. But like you said, it's going to let you know when things aren't okay.
Yeah. So, and like, that's where the importance of a coach or somebody that's at least been through it becomes very important because you have to have that distinction of, is the next 2 sets really going to be the thing that's going to get me to my goal? And the answer is no, it's really not. It's not about the single exercise, a single set, single day of even a week, realistically, right? A lot of people are afraid they leave the gym for a vacation for a week and they think that they lose it all. And it's not the case. And as for your circumstance with the pendulum squat, I mean, my first thoughts are you're playing with new toys, which your body is now trying out new stimuluses, and perhaps you just hit your particular volume, and then your body basically let you know, it's like, all right, that's it.
Yep, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I want to kind of go back because one thing that you mentioned with these for the paralysis by analysis with. Like, hey, if you like your show on Netflix, there's nothing wrong with getting on the floor and doing some of the mobility stuff while watching House of Cards or whatever. But I think this opens up another another black hole, that one of the biggest issues that I see a lot of people struggle with, that I talk about a lot, is I think people have this really fucked up relationship with exercise and movement, which is why we like almost self-categorize. Oh, that counts as working out, but this doesn't. I remember I was working with a client who, one of the reasons she started working with us is she needed to fix her relationship with food and her relationship with exercise because it's always been punishment. And for some reason in her head, yoga did not count as exercise. Walking her dog did not count as exercise. Dancing, which she loved to do, did not count as exercise. So I'm like, what qualifies as exercise to you? And she's like, oh, in a gym, at least an hour, and I have to be in pain and sweating my ass off. I go, no. That's rough. And I think we have it set up, whether it be because of college sports or mom or dad or bullshit from ninth grade. We have it set up that exercise is punishment. It's torture. It's, you have to reach this point of you're crawling out of the gym. Whereas we need to fix that relationship with movement in our body and exercise. And so much takes care of itself.
Yeah. I feel like the old man yelling at clouds, and I'm a part of the issue, is like, I feel like a lot of this also is created by just where all of our attention goes. I mean, we're flipping through Instagram or whatever social media app you use, and you're seeing these videos that are getting tens of thousands of likes. And of course, it's just some hardcore lifting style, because realistically, somebody bending over to touch their toes to a tolerance level that they can handle is not sexy. It's not appealing. It's boring to watch. And I feel like we are subconsciously teaching ourselves improper categorizations of what exercise is and what it isn't.
Dude, I agree with that so much. And to be honest, I think just with what we teach around how we fix a relationship with food, or fix the relationship with ourselves, or fix a relationship with all these areas, I think neurologically and from a neuroplasticity standpoint, enjoying your favorite show while doing some basic flexibility mobility work, it's literally rewiring your brain to enjoy, like, wait, this stuff is actually okay. Look, I'm enjoying this. Those cells are firing and wiring, and the cells of down here are firing and wiring, and it's going to fix the relationship with whatever it was, with exercise or movement. I think that's a fantastic idea.
I mean, I love it. And back to the habit building, right? Is if you want something to stick around, you should reward it. I mean, me personally, this works for me. It may not work for everyone, but I know that my job requires me to be on my feet all day, but I'm not necessarily getting any cardio. And that means I like to do the whole 10,000 steps, which is around 3.5 miles, give or take. So what do I do is, like, after dinner, it's good to walk after you eat. I just hop on my little walking desk. I put it in front of my my TV to watch Netflix, and I'll sit there. God bless my wife. God bless her. Because all she hears is she hears and then she hears me commenting about the Netflix show, and like, she doesn't say a single word.
Yeah, I love it. Well, dude, I feel like we all have that, because that's how we create permanent change in everything. That's originally why I started jujitsu. Time is such a weird thing. I started jujitsu 5.5 years ago. Any habit you can do for 5.5 years, playing guitar, singing, walking every day, like, that's a powerhouse of consistency. Not trying to brag, but I'm just saying that if you can do something for 5 years, that's crazy. But it's because of it's because of how I set it up. I started jujitsu because, dude, I've been in the biggest rut, exercise wise. I talk about this on Instagram a lot, is I hurt my relationship with exercise back when I thought I was a bodybuilder. I was a personal trainer in a gym, working 4:30 in the morning and 9 o'clock at night, saw 200 sessions a month. I was training for a bodybuilding show. So I was literally at the gym 7 days a week. And I ate, slept, and breathed bodybuilding. So you do that for a couple years at a time, dude. I wanted nothing to do with the gym, and my job is in the fitness space. So it got to the point where because working out was a hobby, then I built this big business, and now it's my job. And so then it hit me. I went, when was the last time I enjoyed a hobby, but also exercise and stuff? And I'm gonna go, it was the mats. It was rolling around with a bunch of sweaty other dudes in angry pajamas. So I went and bought a membership at the local jiu-jitsu academy. And because I love it and enjoy it, I get my exercise in, I get my cardio in. Everyone knows it's jiu-jitsu. And then lo and behold, I feel like 5 years went by that fast because of the internal change, not the external.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because I'm also, I would say I'm out of the rut, but just freshly out of the rut. For me, it was, I got super into the data. Like, what is the most optimal way to do X, Y, Z? I'm such a busy guy. Like, I don't want to do anything that's gonna not be the most optimal for the outcome of building muscle and looking good and being healthy, right? So it's like, all right, 10,000 steps. Make sure that you're training to proximity to failure. Make sure you're hitting every muscle group at least 2 to 3 times per week. And then your volume somewhere between 10 to 20 sets per week, right? So, and it really sucked the fun out of my training. It was just basically, I would get in there, do the thing that was the most optimal, which the recent research is showing, like if you train your muscle groups at a lengthened position, you'll get a higher hypertrophic response. But I kept on thinking about all these things. And then eventually it's just like, I don't even want to go in there. I don't want to do these things. And then also another thing that I was battling was I train in my practice's gym, where people will come in and, they'll talk to me because they see Dr. Parker lifting in the gym. So that was a distraction. And then, of course, as we were talking about before, I don't know if it was recording, like I have ADHD. And if I have a ding on my phone and I see that it might be a client or I forgot to post on Instagram, now my anxiety's through the roof.
Yeah.
So now I'm sitting here typing away on my phone. I look at the time, it's been 30 minutes. I haven't broken a sweat yet. And what I've been doing to get out of my rut was, well, first and foremost, I put the phone away, right? But I also just went in there and said, I'm not going to follow any plan. Of course, I'm going to make sure it's well-rounded. I'm hitting all the groups. I'm not just going to skip legs for the next 3 months, but I'm just going to do whatever feels right. And if I don't feel like there's a good connection or contraction with a certain exercise, because that's what I derive as fun, I'm not going to do it. And it's been helping a lot.
Yeah. That's incredible, man. So one of the changes that I've made recently, as well with this, is I just hated we moved. Wow, I just said a whole bunch of words and no sentences came out. That's the worst thing with ADHD brain, dude. Is you have like 17 sentences at once and you try to say all of them and you sound, crazy. But anyway, we moved to this. We've been living in this house for I don't know, a little year and a quarter maybe. And the closest gym was an Anytime Fitness. Walking distance. Like it was literally 5 minutes away, like a 5-minute walk. So like a 90-second drive. So with how busy my schedule is, I prioritized going there because of my schedule, and it was good for about the first year. But then I went back to I just didn't enjoy it. The no energy in there. It's all old people. It was small, nothing wrong with those gyms, but I wasn't feeling it. And then one day I go, you know what? I want to just see, because I live in Indianapolis. There's gyms everywhere. So this newer gym opened up and I go, you know what? I'm going to just change the scenery. I'm just going to go buy a day pass. And I walked in there and it was what I call a meathead gym. It's called American Muscle Factory. Like bro, like their t-shirts say the Mecca of the Midwest, like old school shit. I walk in and it's over 20,000 square feet. It's humongous. And every dude in there is geared out of his gourd. I walked in there and I went, I'm as soft as puppy shit. There's an IFBB pro that runs the place. He came in like 5th at the O or the Olympia, and every dude in there and every girl in there looks amazing and they're getting after it. Like you walk in there and you felt something, you felt different. And all of a sudden, and then like I literally signed up for a year paid in full. I'm like, this is exactly where I need to be. And then the other day I ran into the owner. His name's Nathan Epler. He came in 5th at the 212 at the Olympia. Great dude. And we had met. And he goes, oh yeah, how long have you been coming? And I said, oh, just like a month and a half. He goes, well, what do you think so far? And I go, yeah, it's great, man. He goes, man, when I built this place, he goes, all I wanted it to be a place where people think fitness has to be this hard thing and you have to hate it all and they hate working out. And I wanted a community and a culture where you come in and as soon as you walk in these doors, you smile. He's like, that's all I wanted. And then lo and behold, he has this thriving business in this thriving gym. And I look forward to every single workout now. I was in a rut for the last 5 years, hated every training session. And I look forward to every single training session now. It's just from an environment change. It's crazy.
I mean, I could be a broken record and say that over and over and over again. Environment. And as you can see, it is as simple as just going down the road. and finding another gym if that's what you have access to. And I think a lot of people just build these problems to be on this pedestal that they can't reach. And that's not necessarily the truth. I guess, like, I'm sure everyone has heard that the circumstances of like your biggest fears are always worse in your head versus when you actually face them. And it's so true. But that's kind of like where my style of teaching and my style of practicing is just, how can I lower the activation level so much so that you don't even question it? You just do it. And then before you know it, you're looking around like, what just happened? Why? How am I here now? And it's just, well, you took the first step and you realized that the first step wasn't this big weary thing. You just had to do it.
Yeah. That's incredible, man. So what would you say to the person listening who is at square one? They're like, okay, this has been eye-opening, but I don't even know where to get started with feeling better and all this stuff. Where's the best place for someone to get started with this kind of stuff?
So the number one thing I can say is always start with a goal, right? First, it could be the subjective goal, and then let's try to objectify it, right? It doesn't have to be the super scientific approach, but it's better to have some type of objectivity just in case you ever feel like you're not making the progress you're making. You have something to fall back on. Data. It doesn't care about your feelings. You can see the trend line going up or down depending on the goal that you're trying to pursue. So first and foremost, have a deep-rooted reason why you're doing something. And it doesn't have to make sense to anyone other than yourself. And when you accept that fact, and like, because I know people, they're like, I just want to get jacked. And it's like, it's pretty vague. And then they can go down this, they can go to like 6-7 reasons why they want to get jacked. Then it's like, okay, that's no longer vague anymore. It may have seemed super subjective and didn't matter to me, but you just explained to me why it does. So once you have that anchor point, now you can start to make changes to your lifestyle or start implementing strategies to start trending towards that goal. Now, a lot of people try to say, make goals that are timely. I don't agree with that, especially with pain. When you put a 6 to 8 week time frame on something like that, now you're getting anxious because you felt like you didn't make any progress. Now, I understand you should be rechecking your goals to make sure you are making progress or you need to change up something, sure. But don't put a hard deadline to get the result you're looking for, just because it can get really hairy and demoralizing. After you have this deep-rooted why and you start to change up your environment, you start changing up your lifestyle, now it's the matter of just making sure that you stay not necessarily motivated, because we all know that is just a thing in the wind. It's here and it's gone. It's here and it's gone. But ways that we can start developing the discipline muscle. Everyone's like, how do you get all this discipline? I mean, at the end of the day, you have to build it. I guess I go two ways on this. You can build your discipline, but then there's also these circumstances where you're burning your willpower on things that don't necessarily matter, right? Like a lot of people, once again, they force feed, I got a back squat because I want big legs. Well, no, you can pendulum squat, you can leg extension, you can leg press, you can do deadlift. You're trying to build up your posterior chain. Like, there's so many different strategies, and that was just an exercise, right? Like, it could be habit, that can be nutrition, that can be anything you can think of. So I guess this is the ADHD. I just went this big circle. I don't really know where I'm ending here, but I would just say make a goal. Right? After you make the goal that's deep rooted and it really means a lot to you, then start to figure out the things that you need to do to make that goal happen. Break down those things until it's a point where you're like, this is so easy. It's a joke if I don't get this done. And then once those are super easy, find out where you can place it in your day-to-day life. And that's where the writing down what you do on a typical day helps a lot. And it's like, okay, I need 2 minutes to do hamstring stretches. I'm going to do it while I'm making my coffee. Done. It's already happening. So now, and then of course, if you want to get a little step further here, if coffee is a treat to you, now you're reinforcing the hamstring stretching. So,
That's
so
awesome,
after that, it's so simple because it just adapts to all other principles of, okay, this got easy. In order for my body to continue to adapt, I need to make it slightly harder. What is that next step? And of course, if you get a little stuck, that's where a coach comes in, right? But a lot of times it just kind of comes second nature. Okay, I did stretching twice per week. Now I'm gonna do it 3 times per week.
Absolutely. That's such a beautiful answer, man. I think anything that we're doing, it has to be dumbed down to simplicity. I always tell people like, I'm not that smart of a person. I grew up struggling with learning. And that's why I feel like my one superpower is to make everything simple, because it's the only way I can make it actionable for me. And I think everyone lives there though. I think that's what everyone should do. But, last question. What are you excited about right now? I know like from our conversations, you're in the middle, balls deep on some crazy stuff. So like, what are you excited about right now that you're working on?
You know, the one thing that I'm super excited about is, so I started this thing called the Mobility Manual, and it's full transparency. If you wanted to just go through all my exercises on Instagram, you're getting the same product essentially without sets and reps. But I think where the real benefit comes is not only do you get sets and reps and a design program to help take a specific joint from 0 to level 5, which level 5 should be able to let you be able to run, jump, and play again. But I really think is really cool is we have a community. And in this community, it's full access to me. And I think I spend too much time on it. Or somebody asks a question, I'm like back answering to them. It's just the opportunity to connect with people that are also battling battling their pain and trying to overcome their circumstances, but also start implementing low level things to help better their wellness. And so I'm currently excited about that because I'm now releasing the shoulder portion of it, which we right now we only have the hip and ankle. I'm releasing the shoulder soon, which I got to do all the editing. You know how bad that can be. And I'm going to be sitting in front of a computer for God knows how long. And then I'll start be doing the ankles, not the ankle, the neck, and then the spine. And then from there, it's going to be some other things, because my ultimate goal here is, can I make a one-stop shop for just general information and implementation for the most common injuries? And of course, some people are going to need some additional support, and that's where the coaching comes in line. But if I can get everyone to help themselves, that was my goal when I started as a chiropractor, as a doctor, because empowering somebody to do it on their own is so dang cool, my friend.
That's incredible, dude. I love that. Is that live? So that's live now, like people can get it, or is it still in like waiting list times?
Beta stuff. Manual? Yeah. So the mobility manual itself, it's open. It's right now it's only the hips and ankles, and it's kind of like a rolling thing. When I finish it, I release it to whoever has it. Because how I price this is because this is what I always say is like, look, I'm going to charge you something because I want to hold you accountable to the program. That's about it, and once you pay this one-time fee, you have it for the duration. As long as the internet is a thing, you have access to this, That's right. I'm not going to kick you out, so that's kind of my dream is just eventually, once I cover the whole body of all the different things, then I'll probably start going into more like more of the wellness side of things, mentality speaking, nutrition speaking. But right now I'm just trying to lay the groundwork with the movement.
Where can people get that manual at?
This is like our generation, I guess, but like you click the link in my bio, right? Like I got to find a better way of saying that, but yeah, you go on my profile. Go on.
Okay, cool. What we'll do is we'll put it in the show notes. So just send me, after we're over at some point, just send me the link and we'll throw the link where people can grab it. Cause I know there'll be people that's like, I want it now. So just send it to me and we'll throw it in the show notes of the show when it comes out.
I appreciate that.
So yeah, man. So where can people find you? Cause obviously I can tell already my community is going to love you. So where can people find you? With your stuff? Yeah.
So the main one that I will respond to as many people as possible, which I hope I didn't open up a floodgate here, but is my Instagram. So bs.parker. Fun fact, S literally means nothing. It was the only way I can get a username that had my first initial and my last name into one heading.
Really?
Yeah. I tried everything. Brandon Parker, Dr. Brandon Parker, like literally everything to the point where it's everything. Like BS.Parker.
Wow. So bullshit.
Yeah. That's what everyone says. It's just like, you know what? This is my life now. But yeah, that's where I do all my responses and all that. Then TikTok is just kind of like a reposting board at this point. And then YouTube kind of the same. So if you want to get in contact with me, if I can help you through a voice message, as long as you're willing to listen to my voice, I will be more than willing to help you.
That's right. I love it, man. Man, this has been so good. I can't believe it's already been an hour. That's fucking incredible.
Every time I talk to you, man, it's always a great time. And for everyone that's listening, Jared is a wealth of knowledge. And not only does he put on this happy, friendly persona, it's real. I mean, I cold DM'd this guy after meeting him 3-4 years ago when he came onto my podcast, and he just rolled out the red carpet to me. So like I always tell him every time I talk to him, if there is a way that you can use me as an asset, please do. Cause I'll dive on a grenade, my friend.
I love it. It's the kind of people I like. I love it, dude. Man, this has been good. Thank you so much again for doing this.
Of course, man.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what everyone thinks and what comes of it. So
fingers crossed.
And we're back. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of Dieting from the Inside Out. I know if you stuck around for the whole thing, you got a ton of value out of this. Be sure and follow Brandon. Be sure and shoot him a message on Instagram. Tell him that you heard him on the show. If you liked the show and it was really valuable, please share it. Please share it. Do not keep this information to yourself. Be sure to subscribe. That way you're notified when anytime we have a new episode. And if this resonated with you, please leave a review please leave a review and a 5-star rating wherever you're listening to this on. But before you go, I do have a few things for you. Number one is if you are a little bit newer and you're not quite sure even where to start with like this game of weight loss and nutrition and losing weight and making your life better, you should go through my free course. I have a free fat loss course called the Fat Loss Checklist. It's in the description. It's basically a 5-day mini course that's going to show you how to make weight loss and losing weight and nutrition not just doable for your everyday life, but it goes against all of the diet culture bullshit you've been brought up believing. So you'll want to check that out. Number two, if you may know what to do, but you may just struggle doing it, or you just kind of feel alone, like you're lone wolfing this because you don't have a support system. Well, I have a spot where you can go to, because so many of our problems in life and in transformation and all this stuff can get solved getting around the right group of people. Well, I have that. I made it for this exact purpose. It's completely free. I have a private Facebook group. It's open to the public, but you do have to like add yourself and things like that. It's called Fat Loss Simplified. Basically, I'm in there. My team's in there. And a bunch of other people who are on the same road as you and who have been struggling and now are changing their lives are in there. Outside of the podcast, it's where I put some of my best free content inside that Facebook group. You can go in there, ask for help, ask for support, get loved on, get your questions answered, and actually change your life. So I'll leave a link down below for that as well. And then finally, if you are really just ready to expedite your results and you want your result as fast as possible, but not so fast that you lose them, that's unsustainable, and you're tired of the mental gymnastics in hoop jumping, trying to get to where you want to be, you can apply for coaching. I have a very special link below that's only for my podcast listeners, where you can apply for coaching, because if you come from the show, you have a very special place in my heart. So I'm giving basically anyone who gets accepted into coaching from the podcast, I'm giving, number one, about $4,000 worth of stuff away to you for free, completely for free, but also you can go to the front of the line. So generally we can only take on every month a certain amount of new clients. That way we can ensure our client process and our client journey is top notch. We don't want to sacrifice that just because more people are coming in. At the time of recording this, we filled up again. So, we have a tendency to fill up and start a wait list for the following month. Well, if you get accepted into coaching from the podcast, you go straight to the front of the line. So, especially if you're in a hurry to get to where you want to be, but again, not so much to sacrifice your ability to stay there and the sustainability of it. That's what that's there for. So if you need help, hit that link below, apply for coaching, and we'll see if it's a good fit. And if it is a good fit, we can talk about possible next steps. But otherwise, that is it for today's episode. I really, really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much once again. Be sure to subscribe to the show. Be sure to check out all the things the podcast touches, the podcast site, dietingfromtheinsideout.com. You can even read the episode in a blog fashion there and watch the YouTube video and all the things that it touches. But otherwise, I appreciate the fuck out of you. Thank you so much for being here. I love you, and we will talk to you next time.